Hey everyone, welcome to the
sir.
installment of Harry Potter Theory.
Very good.
In this video,
happy to be
we're
here,
going to be discussing both the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts franchises, as well as
one
Lord
of the
Voldemort
most
and his trusty companion,
underutilized, underrated
Nagini.
character
The
in
Nagini
the Harry
that we
Potter
know from
lore.
the Harry Potter films was first introduced in the Goblet of Fire, where she is described as eating the body of Muggle Frank Bryce after his brutal murder.
Poor dude.
And from as far back as we can remember, she's glued to Voldemort's side, a trustworthy and loyal companion.
She is
through
like a
seemingly
dog
any
is to a
kind
man.
of adversity. When Voldemort was weak and just a shadow of the powerful man that he usually was, she was still there, right by him. And this truly speaks to the bond that Voldemort and Nagini had.
But they were soul bonded
However,
as well, so
the
it makes
Nagini
sense.
that we know from the Harry Potter franchise
But then
is not
seeing her in
expanded upon
Fantastic
much
Beasts,
in the original series. And it's not
you
until
get a big
Fantastic
shocker.
Beasts came out that we got a little bit more of her history.
She's not just a
Nagini is such a
random
rich
bat.
character with a lot of history, but in Harry Potter, we only see her in her snake form, and the relationship that she has with Voldemort
Nagini.
had already been developed. We don't really
Yeah.
get a proper sense of who she is or what her story is, and in today's video, I'm going to be diving into the history of Nagini,
They didn't
not just the
probably
snake,
explain
but
it
the woman.
in Fantastic
Nagini's
Beasts
birth
as
year
well.
is not officially recorded anywhere,
I mean,
but
it
we
makes
do
sense, obviously, because in Fantastic Beasts we learned she was a witch who had a special ability to transform into animals. I forgot what the official name is. I'm sure he's gonna say it because I paused too soon, but I needed to say what's on my mind. But in Fantastic Beasts, we never see her, obviously, like, it's never explained because, like, Voldemort is never mentioned, Tom Riddle is never mentioned. We don't see how they meet, what happened. Did she meet his grandfather, something, or maybe I just missed it and I didn't realize because I'm not as educated as some people on the Harry Potter lore. But I don't remember any of that.
You know that when we first see her in Fantastic Beasts, it's the year 1927, and she looks to be
The
in
good
her
old
late
days.
20s or so. With this in mind, I'm going to assume that Nagini was born sometime around the year 1900.
1900s.
However, Nagini wasn't born into normal circumstances. She wasn't born as a normal, healthy young baby. She was born with a curse. We don't know whether or not Nagini came from
That
a
she was
family of
going to
witches,
become a
muggles, or
permanent
something else,
animal.
but we
That
do
was
know
the
that
curse,
her
if I
lineage
remember
had the
correctly.
maledictus curse in its bloodline, a dark curse that is passed on through generations of
That's
family
so
members
unfair.
and is transferred from mother to daughter.
That's so
Because of
unfair.
this,
So
Nagini was
sad.
born a female maledictus, one who
Maledictus,
carries
that's
the
the
maledictus
name.
curse. A maledictus suffers from a blood malediction, a type of curse that causes the sufferer to slowly transform into an animal
That's the
over the
name.
course of their life. The animal can vary according to the specific curse. In Nagini's case, her blood malediction meant that she
Chose
was
a
destined
snake.
to turn into a snake, becoming less human and more snake each and every day. Generally, for quite a number of years, the maledictus will possess the ability to transform at will, but that's
She
what
had
slips
that.
over time. Eventually,
You
will lose
become
the ability
permanent.
to transform and will be
Transform
stuck in
into a
whatever
snake
animal
and
form
one day
that is
you'll never
destined for you.
transform back.
A blood malediction is an awful and inescapable
That's sad.
curse that eats away at you, slowly stripping away your identity. In Harry Potter, we see Nagini after she has completely lost the ability to transform at will, and she is permanently stuck in her snake form. However, in Fantastic Beasts,
it's
she's still
different.
clearly able to assume her human form, and even switches between the two. Before transforming into a snake permanently, and eventually becoming a Horcrux, Nagini was a shy, quiet, kind woman who was unfortunately mistreated by the Circus Arcanus. The Circus Arcanus was a
broke my
traveling
little
wizarding
heart.
circus owned by a man named Skender. It was
Yeah.
essentially considered to
Cruel
be a
man.
freak show and boasted the world's most complete congress of human oddities.
I just wanted to hug
Nagini
her
was
and
put
get her
on
out of
display
there.
and forced to show the world what a freak
Like
she
she's
was,
a-
when in reality she was
that
just a
word
poor
is
woman
cruel.
that suffered from an awful curse. Skender was incredibly cruel and exploited Nagini, forcing her to perform for his show day in and day out. She was stuck
deserved
there,
so much
that
better.
is, until Credence Barebone came along. During one of her performances, Credence came along and released fire drakes, allowing her to escape and run away with him. Their new friendship was unusual, and each was as confused as the other with regards to their place in the world. They were an uncanny pair, a mistreated maledictus that had been being held captive, and Credence, a boy that knew nothing of his identity. In an effort to help Credence, the two partnered up, and they sought answers with regards to Credence's existence.
Boy, did they get
Who were his
answers.
biological parents? Where was his
They
family?
did get answers.
After an unfortunate run-in with
Oh,
one
shit,
of
I don't
Grindelwald's acolytes, Gunnar Grimson, Nagini and Credence found themselves on the top of a house near the Eiffel Tower, where they met Gellert Grindelwald himself.
They were
At
involuntary
this point
guests.
in time, Grindelwald was quite familiar with Credence
With gold
and began
right
planting
there.
the seeds of manipulation, knowing that the power of this impressionable but powerful young obscurus
Seduce him to
could
the
be
dark
easily
side.
swayed and harnessed if he played his cards right. Though Nagini
wasn't
is seemingly
wrong.
quite evil in Harry Potter, she doesn't appear to be evil at all
Not
in
at
Fantastic
all.
Beasts.
She wasn't.
In fact, she immediately recognized what Grindelwald was trying to do to Credence and tried her best to save him. After surviving Grindelwald's Paris rally and losing Credence, she eventually teams up with the good guys, Newt Scamander, Tina
She
Goldstein,
was with
Jacob,
them.
and others.
How did
I'm
she
really
end
interested
up
to
with
see how Nagini
freaking
makes the transition
Voldemort?
from helpful, kind woman to evil snake, and there are a lot of dots that need to be connected in the next 3 Fantastic Beasts films. However, for now, let's just resume Nagini's story at the point at which she first encounters Lord Voldemort. Though we don't have an exact date, it's speculated.
Wait. I thought it was explained and I'm just learning about it, or there were theories. But we're never gonna learn how she went from like an innocent, sweet woman who just was handed the bad cards in life to a frickin' the partner of the most evil wizard ever existed. But those Fantastic Beasts movies are never releasing. I thought that knowledge was already there, not that it still needs to be written. Oh, now you just broke my heart even more, narrator.
that Nagini and Voldemort met in the forests of Albania sometime in the 1980s. At this point, Nagini would have likely fully assumed her snake-like form, and Voldemort would have been hiding in his disembodied state.
This was after
What their
the first
initial
Wizarding
interaction
War,
would have
then.
looked like is anyone's guess. However, we do know a couple of things about Voldemort that would have helped him in interacting with the giant snake. First of all, Voldemort is the descendant of Salazar Slytherin. This means that his connection to snakes is strong, and that he can even communicate with them because of his ability to speak Parseltongue. Nagini, who would have been stuck in her Maledictus form at this point in time, would have probably leaped at the opportunity to finally speak with someone. She was a lost Maledictus that was devoid of communication, and finally she encountered someone who could understand her. It was someone that she could tell her story to. Whether Voldemort would have been able to recognize that she was a Maledictus or not is unclear. However, he's an extremely versed legilimens, so I'm sure he could have taken a look inside of her mind and figured it out. At this point in time, both Nagini and Voldemort were a bit lost in the world, similar to when she first met Credence. Nagini was stuck in a snake form, an entirely new identity, and was completely devoid of human interaction. She probably had no idea what her next move was going to be, and she must have been incredibly lonely. In Voldemort's case, he had just been recently defeated and was likely also
it makes sense for her though. She was stripped of her whole identity. Her life as a woman was essentially killed. She started a new life as a snake, lonely, on her own, scared, probably going crazy with no one to talk to. So she found this new person who she attached to, who understood her, who would be able to communicate, formed a bond together. At that point, Nagini human was dead. Nagini human was dead. Didn't exist. All there was her loyalty to freaking Voldemort. I mean, oh, it's just so sad. She deserved so much better.
of a loss for what to do next. For this reason, I think that it is only natural that the two would pair and join up, each of them having something to offer the other. Without Nagini, it would have been considerably more difficult to return to a corporeal form, and without Voldemort, Nagini would have had no purpose in the world, and no one to talk to. She would have just been alone. Nagini became instrumental in Lord Voldemort's survival before he could be restored to his real body, and her venom was even used as an elixir that helped him to survive. It was one of the primary ingredients in a potion that he used to rebuild his strength. Nagini also helped Voldemort to commit numerous murders, and one murder in particular, the murder of Bertha Jorkins, sealed their bond more than ever. You see, after the death of Bertha Jorkins, Nagini became one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. She was now more than just the companion of Voldemort. A fragment of Voldemort's soul lived inside of her.
Literally.
By this point in time, her previous shy and gentle nature was no more, and she became a weapon for Lord Voldemort, the man to which she was completely loyal. Because she was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, she even shared a telepathic bond with him, and was able to communicate with him over vast distances. Despite Voldemort's evil nature, she thought very highly of him, and I think that she only became more and more like him as the years went by.
And I mean,
it should also be mentioned that Voldemort thought very highly of Nagini, which can't be said for a lot of people. In fact, Dumbledore had this to say of Voldemort's relationship with Nagini. I think he is perhaps as fond of her as he can be of anything. He certainly likes to keep her close, and has an unusual amount of control over her, even for a Parselmouth.
I think it was
the pair had a
controlled.
special bond, and their union allowed two lost souls to reignite their sense of purpose in the world.
Deserved better.
And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Did I miss anything about